The Panthers may be champions, but they are not forgetting that in the start of a new season, it's all back to square one as the Cats are now in the pursuit of going for a second in a row.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Thursday, September 19th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You follow me on X at Monoman12. Follow the show account on X and Instagram at LO_FLA Panthers. And shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet up to $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. So Florida Panther fans, grateful to be back here on the show, which we have a lot to talk about in the world of the Cats, as 5 players and the head coach did meet with the media yesterday to discuss more about the new season that is for the Panthers. We are going to break down all of that. We're actually going to have 2 episodes today for you on the show. Today we are going to discuss Paul Maurice, Sergei, Bobrovsky, and Matthew Tkachuk discussing what their opinions and answering all the questions on media day. And then on an episode later on, we're going to talk about Alexander Barkov, Sam Reinhart, and newcomer Nate Schmidt. So we're going to discuss that more here on the show. But today, this segment, we are going to discuss first the head coach for the Panthers, Paul Maurice, and really knew coming in that he was always going to have a good head on his shoulders. He's the guy who has to be the adult in the room for the team. You are part of setting the culture, even though basically for the Panthers, it's been something that's really been set even before he got here. I mean, even before he was hired as the coach, one thing that he discussed so much about the hiring process, and even in the defeats versus the winning, you discuss one thing about the team loving each other and still wanting to be there for each other. And even I'm jumping a little bit ahead of myself of like a little bit of what he said. He didn't want people to take it the wrong way about how much he connected so well with these players. And he spoke about really, even in the loss against Vegas versus winning against the Edmonton Oilers in 2024, he loved that just as much, not for the results of everything, but just based on how he connected with everyone and how everybody fought for each other. That these guys went to war together. As much as we love the winning and losing, it's really all about who you fight for, and those are the memories made. Even though guys have been around with the team and are come and go and everything for that, and knowing that it's just a welcoming community. And even Paul Maurice spoke about when it came to the newcomers for him, it's in order to get these guys acclimated to everything in South Florida. He's really focused on the culture of the team over the systems. And if you get the culture right and everyone is bought in and everyone listens to the leadership of the team, then the systems part will take care of itself, of being there for each other and everything, and playing to the style of knowing that you can trust your teammate on things like puck support. Whenever it comes to a pinch, you get it. So really setting things with the culture over that. And also spoke about the fitness testing. That's a big emphasis that he talked about. He spoke about we're more fit, better this year than last. I believe he's going to say that next year too, that we're more fit too. So I don't really take too much of that thought for Paul Maurice of what he says. He's not going to tell the media that they're not more fit than last year. So take that for what it's worth. Spoke about not believing in the hangover, and even said it before we even asked. And also, here's also one thing that I need you guys to hear the audio of this for what he said. Just games lost in the season and also looking at the bigger picture. So here's what Paul Maurice had to say about possibility of a hangover. And here's the thing with that is that Paul Maurice is consistently remembering the why for everything. And I remember if you guys have been listening to this, even in the Stanley Cup final, I said the process doesn't matter in the postseason once you get there. Process is this part of everything, which with getting to know each other and also building everything and building each other up in these times. And I think of some of the losses last year that the Panthers had. St. Louis at home, one of the worst home games that they had all season. On the road in Seattle, where they got shut out. That's what was part of back-to-back shutouts too, and also blowing a lead against the Anaheim Ducks on President's Day last year too on that matinee. So that's another thing too. Also, Palmer spoke about his day with his time away from the game and spoke about the peaceful summer, being in the cottage, not having signal, but also he didn't want to be in it too long, and that's how it was a bit of peace and relaxation, and now he just wanted to go back and get back into the grind, and that's how you know that a guy has found their calling there too. So great to see that Paul Maurice was just ready to just get back and everything. That's going to be a constant theme here of what we're going to talk about, what the players have said throughout the media day and everything, and also spoke about one team, only one team can win it, and that how you have to have that driving force to consistently remind yourself, hey, we built these habits in our game. Don't forget that this is what helped us, and also the once again for the adversity, it's going to be a new type of adversity for the team, and also learning to love the games even in their losses. Spoke really a lot about the Boston season series, the regular season series. Even though Boston swept the Panthers, consistently spoke talking about how they love their game and building themselves up for what it is, and and knowing that they're going to be dealing with that, and also that there might be that team in the Eastern Conference that could have their number throughout the regular season, and that it's earlier a few sentences ago saying only one team can win it. You can't win it tomorrow for the Stanley Cup. You got to take everything one day at a time, and knowing that there's going to be a learning curve for these guys coming in for the team, and knowing that whenever you win, you know, if you won and you went 82-0 every single game throughout the regular season, there's not much that you could pick out of from it. Versus when you lose, that's where the real pain, the pain centers of your brain really activate too, for every competitor, whether it's hockey, football, baseball, you name it. But knowing that it's not permanent too, and that you could take away something every single time from each and every loss that you do have, and also for knowing the feeling of and relating that to whenever they lost the 3 in a row in the Stanley Cup final, and knowing that it's not permanent and you learn how to apply what you learn, and that's really also what helped them in the postseason to win the Stanley Cup too. Also spoke about Nate Schmidt, a newcomer for the team, and spoke about how the starting point will be his energy. Love how outgoing he is. Uh, Spoke about his fitness, and that for the Panthers, knowing that there's a type of player that he wants and that the team wants, they know that they want guys who are just ambitious and coming into the mix, and they see that this team had a sense of victory. So knowing that there's another person who brings that the energy, and we'll discuss more about Nate Schmidt and his energy. We spoke about it all summer, but even he brought it through media day. Those are the type of guys you want on your team for sure. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we're going to discuss Sergei Bobrovsky's approach to the offseason and everything. We are going to discuss that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And you heard us talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. You can cancel anytime. So visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. And I'd like to thank you guys once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Thursday, as training camp begins today for the Panthers in Fort Lauderdale. Once again, FanFest is on Saturday at FTL War Memorial, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. for you guys to enjoy some of the festivities, music, prizes. So lots of community there that you guys will be able to experience on Saturday. So the Sergei Bobrovsky got his opportunity to speak with the media too, and also there was a pretty cool photo that Phil Pritchard, the keeper of the cup, posted of Sergei Bobrovsky in his home here in Fort Lauderdale of his day with the Stanley Cup. Gonna show it to you guys real quick. If you guys are watching this on the YouTube, you see him looking at the cup, and you see in the background the collection of wine that he has, and also this one right here of Sergei Bobrovsky just sitting back, relaxing, and all the goalie masks that he has collected over the years. You see also a replica Prince of Wales trophy too, and some pucks too in the background. There's also a photo of him in the background winning the Vezina trophy too. So that's a really cool photo of just Sergei Bobrovsky relaxing there with the Stanley Cup. But immediately was asked about the short summer by Tim Reynolds, and he's like quickly said, "Yeah, I like the short summer," just casually saying it. But also, just like how Paul Maurice loves getting back on the ice, Sergei Bobrovsky also spoke about it. He spoke about love what he's doing, but he's also just he eats a slice of humble pie all the time. For him, he's just like, it's a blessing to be here today to compete for the dream again, and you only care about the moment. And when you kind of have to be, and it kind of takes me back to game 6 and 7 of the final, and he spoke really about a lot of that. With the 2 days between games 6 and 7, they were special for him, for the mentality of him to give himself that opportunity to reset. But him knowing that going into that last game, it's the opportunity to either lose everything or to gain everything that you've wanted in your career, but also trying to give himself that little bit of self-talk, just about relaxing your brain, and also not having to overwork your body too, and also speaking about like telling yourself whether you do too much or to take a step back and everything, and knowing that time between the game 6 and 7, you gotta really put in your best effort too for your preparation too, and knowing that he himself tries to stay in the moment. And also for him, we spoke about it. 2 Vezina trophies, a Hall of Fame induction is going to be coming his way very soon, once he hangs up the pads And for him, he spoke about how it's something that he's not really going to appreciate until his career is over. And it kind of reminds me of Roberto Luongo during his when he was inducted into the Canucks Ring of Honor, and he spoke about Roberto Luongo made the playoffs in Vancouver 6 out of his 8 years, and Lou felt a lot of that pressure of being in the Canadian market and obviously coming up short in a game 7. But after him being inducted into the Ring of Honor, he spoke a lot about wishing that he enjoyed the present there more while he was there. And obviously, maybe that's a little bit of something about not winning the cup there and him feeling like he let a fan base down. Sergei Bobrovsky, crazy to think that even with winning a cup, he's still wanting to stay in that moment. And if you erased your memory, you pulled out that thing from Men in Black to erase, and you come and you hear Sergei Bobrovsky speaking to the media about it, you would have never thought that he would have been a Stanley Cup champion. So let's actually play a little bit of an audio of what Sergei Bobrovsky said about staying in that moment. Yeah, and this is going to be a thing for Bob, even for the rest of his career, even if he wins another Vezina Trophy or even if he wins another Stanley Cup. And you know, that's also that's also what you want in a teammate too. The fact that a guy is never going to show, even if he is emotionally rattled by giving up 4 or 5 in a game, you're never going to notice it from him too. And that's also what you could appreciate, that it's only one game, one bad game, that you got to move on to the next one. Even if he has a shutout, he always moves on to the next one too. And so these have been some of the best years that Sergei Bobrovsky has had too. And obviously a lot of these players have spoken a lot about that the Stanley Cup doesn't truly define them. It's an added bonus to their career, obviously, but that you the you know if you live to see past 30, you're the amount of days that you live on this earth, it's going to be in over 10,000. So yeah, that Stanley Cup championship is one day out of that very small percentage, but to remember all the journey in between all that, the celebration too, after that, of the community that you share it with, the people who got you there, and also how you build yourself up for for a moment of glory, and that of, just like I said earlier, of Paul Maurice not learning more about the losses than you do in the wins for him too. So it's just a little bit of a step back to know that these guys are still very much hungry for the ultimate prize of winning the Stanley Cup. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we're going to discuss what Matthew Tkachuk had to say during media day, and also some stories of him and Johnny Gaudreau. We're going to discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. And Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events, even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you how incredible deals on seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. There's the Gametime Picks. The curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concert, comedy, theater, and more. You get a seat view. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. With the Gametime ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. And once again, I'd like to thank you guys for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Thursday. So now we're going to talk Matthew Tkachuk, which, by the way, we are 19 days away from opening night. So it's September 19th, the 19th day of the month, 19 days away from opening night. And in this segment, we're going to talk about number 19, Matthew Tkachuk. So Chucky, he was introduced even as he was walking to the stage. Kobe Guy of Florida Hockey Now said, "Hello, Stanley Cup champion Matthew Tkachuk," and there was a little bit of a laugh that Matthew Tkachuk said, "Oh, that's a little joke between him and I," and telling him that he remembered and saying that for now when Kobe writes anything bad about Chucky, that he has to refer to him as Stanley Cup champion Matthew Tkachuk. So that's also something I'm going to be looking for in Kobe's writing when the going gets tough for the Panthers here. But also spoke about his day with the cup, and also there's a lot of benefit of Matthew Tkachuk getting his cup day as the second player to get it and getting it in mid-July. Spoke about how lots of family flew in from everywhere to celebrate with him in St. Louis, and how this is what stood out for me is the fact that he was able to turn the page really quickly after his day with the cup. Also, I forgot to mention, he became an uncle too. So Brady Tkachuk and Emma just brought in a new baby boy to the world named Ryder Keith Tkachuk. So congratulations on Matthew on becoming an uncle. Just a few days ago it happened, actually. And also for Matthew Tkachuk spoke about how, a lot of fans have been waiting 30 years, and spoke about his time of bringing it to the Children's Hospital in St. Louis. And he spoke about witnessing grown men crying, people in this market being waiting for the time for the Panthers to finally do it, and even bringing it for the kids. Even if they don't watch hockey, they know what the Stanley Cup is, but it was the best part. But taking it for the kids was the best part, and also gave us a little bit of perspective, saying that we don't know necessarily what they go through. I don't know. A lot of you may not know neither of what they go through, and just the being there and away from home too, and being under care. It gives you a little bit of makes you take a little bit of a step back, knowing that there's a little bit of hope that and an upbringing in the community whenever someone does give back and show that they care about those who might not be as fortunate as us too. And also Matthew Tkachuk, man, him being in his early to mid 20s, it just once again has that maturity. Doesn't talk about Stanley Cup, and also discusses about making the playoffs and giving yourself a chance consistently, because we've seen over these last, even for Chucky personally, his last 3 years, the Panthers, these last two, top of the division that last year, eighth, and the final playoff spot the year before. But even for Matthew personally, getting the top of the division the year before bouncing out to Edmonton in the second round in 5, and in a round that was, that you really saw the Oilers really pull the heartstrings out of the Calgary Flames, and obviously going into a little bit of a roster shuffle after that with Matthew Tkachuk traded as an RFA, Johnny Gaudreau leaving free agency at the time to Columbus too, and also knowing that nothing is guaranteed, and that you don't obviously you don't want to put yourself in a position like you did in 2023, but once you get in the dance to knowing that it's one game at a time there. And honestly, even though the Panthers did win the cup, being first in the division, I still I still get the impression for this team that they are not putting too much stock into positioning once again in trying to win it. Obviously, does the home ice help? Yeah, they had home ice in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. You'll take that over being on the road, but still, these guys are gonna have the mindset of anytime, anywhere. We'll play the game too. So that was also great for that. So also for the guys actually, before I change the subject, we spoke about uh uh Matthew Tkachuk and Gaudreau leaving. He also spoke about Johnny Gaudreau too, and just about how although the victory was great, unfortunately, the death of his friend was unfortunately overshadowed, and one of the saddest things that he has been through. And also, he's said that he felt like every day last year he was telling a new Johnny Gaudreau story, and that he's the most offensively talented player that he's ever played with, and that he'll always be a part of the memory. And he can't wait to tell more of Johnny Gaudreau's stories going into this season as he shares them with his peers, and also with the Florida Panthers. They're going to be the road team for Columbus's home opener, and the Blue Jackets are going to have a thing dedicated to Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Gaudreau with some doves and the numbers 13 and 21, honoring those two guys for the season. So that's another thing too that they are going to be doing this season. So October 15th, on the Tuesday night in October, is going to be it's going to be a night for sure in the NHL world, and a lot of people are going to be watching. Obviously, we will be for more than just the Florida Panthers too, but also seeing the outpouring of love for Johnny Hockey too there for the Cats, for the Blue Jackets, excuse me. But also going back to giving yourselves a chance, but also knowing that short summer coming into this, knowing that just like how Paul Maurice said, how you can't win the Stanley Cup tomorrow, the fact that Matthew Tkachuk said that the best thing you could have coming into a season is experience. How he spoke about how it's priceless, and you have newcomers coming here for one reason and one reason only. I mean, for once again, Nate Schmidt saying that I got the money, I want to win a cup. So those are the guys. And if you're the players and you're hearing that and him saying that publicly, that's got to pump you up a little bit too there for him. And I'm sure I'm just hearing it, and I'm pumped hearing something like that for the newcomers. So he knows that the guys are chomping at the bit, and spoke about how they wanted to just get on the ice now and to not wait anymore too. And also, what before we end this episode, he spoke about the buzz of hockey in South Florida. He's played in Calgary. He's grew up in St. Louis in the Midwest too. And also the buzz is like he's never seen before here and it's really that difference of winning a championship whenever people are bought in for a winning product too. Obviously, you get more recognized on the streets too. More jersey sales go up. I mean, like we spoke about earlier in the week when the Panthers extended their lease with Broward County. I mean, that's a big addition to the buzz, and knowing that even if the Panthers slightly fall off a cliff, that with this one championship for the franchise and for this region is going to continue creating and bringing people back, because they're going to remember what 2024 was like. So the buzz in South Florida is something that is definitely going to carry on for this franchise, and that's what we are hoping every night for when the Panthers take the ice. And also, it's going to be that reminder when all of us look at that center logo and seeing the design of the Stanley Cup too. So it's going to get a little getting used to, at least for me. seeing that logo with the Stanley Cup, but also it's a great reminder to the world that this team and this franchise officially did it for them. But knowing that and that looking at it, it should be another one of the driving forces in order to try to put yourself in a position to do it again. And that's the key words: put yourself in a position, and that's all you can ask for this team. That's going to do it for part one of this discussion of Media Day here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Later on today, we are going to discuss what Alexander Barkov, Sam Reinhart, and Nate Schmidt had to say to the media ahead of training camp. So make sure you check that out later on the show today. But in the meantime, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Steel Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So Armando Velez signing off. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.